It's been a while since the last video. I haven't been playing too much lately, a mixture of limited time and lack of stuff to do in the games kept me away. I raced a couple of league rounds in project cars, but it didn't really get me back on it. Even if it's a far better platform to race in right now, the driving itself wasn't that satisfying. It felt a bit strange coming back to a game that I played for so long and feeling completely out of the water. Assetto Corsa has spoiled me big time. On one hand, it managed to become my favorite game to play, and at the same time it has frustrated me a lot. Right now the game is a complete mess, probably even worse than Project Cars was at the release. I have read about the plans to bring private lobbies, but that alone is not going to save this game. There are many things that need attention. This is what this video will be about. I'll go through all the stuff that needs fixing if this game is ever going to get good on consoles. Let's start. Assetto Corsa is missing many things you give for granted in a game today. You cannot assign the keys on your wheel manually, you just get 2 presets and you have to stick with this. That's a real pain when the cars you drive have DRS or a button to cycle the turbo boost, or you simply want to move around the brake bias. There's a similar problem with the heads-up display. You can't select what information you want in your screen or where you want it. There are just 3 types of HUD, one of them being no HUD at all, and the other 2 are way too intrusive. Same story with the camera views. There's only one thing you can change, and that is the field of view. If we drive a while, you can see that the heads-up display takes a big part of the screen. They didn't even bother to put this stuff in the edges of the screen. The information should be blocking a piece of sky, not so close to the center. I always end up driving with no heads-up display. The interface you get in the races includes more information, but it's just as badly placed, and the delta to other players blocks the screen even more than this. Another weird thing is that the no heads-up display option is only available in practice. If you are going to race, there are some elements that will stay in the screen no matter what you do. We switch to some footage of a race right now so you can see what I mean. There's a virtual mirror on top of the screen that will not go away, and if there are cars around you, the proximity arrows will show up, and again, you cannot avoid this. Even if you push the cycle HUD button, you cannot get rid of this stuff, but at least the delta to your best lap and the gaps to the other players will go away. That liberates a huge part of the screen, and makes you realize how intrusive the heads-up display is in this game. Assetto Corsa isn't a bad looking game. It actually looks great when everything is stopped. You can get fantastic screenshots. The textures are really good looking and there's a lot of detail. However, it runs really bad. When you get moving, the game doesn't run smooth, and the frames per second you get go all over the place when particular things happen. Something as silly as a rival car going off and lifting a cloud of dirt can make your game look like a PowerPoint presentation. If it happens at the wrong time, you are going to struggle to keep your car under control. This effect is even worse on replays, where nothing has to happen to trigger it. The TV cameras have really neat angles, but they are really laggy in many shots, and also the blur effect trying to imitate a camera focus is way over the top in many places. But there are graphical problems during the live gameplay too. You can see this brake marker on the right perfectly when I stop the car here. It's clear, it's big, and it seems impossible to miss. But things are different at the speed. It's really hard to see this stuff while driving in this game, and you have to look for more obvious references, like changes in the tire barriers, if you don't want to miss your braking point. Most of the tracks present in Assetto Corsa are featured in many other racing games, and it's never been a problem to spot these markers. They are there to be seen and used by the drivers, but for some reason it's really hard to do it in this game. But that's not all, there are big problems with the lighting too. This is how many tracks look on what the game calls heavy clouds weather. The sky turns into a white glowing mass, and the tarmac is so dark that it's barely possible to see where you are going. It's almost like driving in the night, and this is recorded at 2 PM in the game. Driving in these conditions is guesswork, and your eyes get really tired after a while. You might think it's easy to bypass this problem by driving in clear weather. but if you go into multiplayer, the game seems to be hellbent on setting 3 out of 4 sessions to be like this. I have to turn the bright up on my TV to be able to see anything, and when I do it looks horrible, a bit like a Silent Hill game. It's already hard enough to find a decent race out there, and getting them ruined by stuff like this is just not acceptable. AI cars seems to have as one and only target to play bowling with your car. They are completely useless in traffic and cannot adapt to having a car ahead of them. They drive as if they were alone all the time, and, at least at the 2 highest levels, they are just not fit for use. That makes single player racing a waste of time. It's not just one combo where they cannot handle this or that corner. I found big issues in all the cars I have tried across many different tracks. There are many places where they will miss their braking points every lap. If you are ahead of them, consider yourself fit. Even braking as late as possible will not help you. If you are not ahead of them, they'll go off themselves and return to the track in stupid ways. They will fail at the same places lap after lap after lap. This is how the end of a qualifying session looks like in Assetto Corsa. You get teleported to the grid in the middle of a hot lap and there's not even a screen with the results anywhere. You can check the grid order in the menus, but you can't even see the gaps between the players and other basic information. I am usually not that worried about this kind of stuff, but it shows a complete lack of effort. How hard will it be showing the results before throwing you into the race? Then we get to the race starts, and in a game where cars have a fully functional clutch, you have to shift up to first gear to start when the lights go out. There are no jump starts, and you can't operate the clutch yourself to get a better start in a low-powered car. Even in a game like Formula 1 16, where the clutch pedal does nothing, they bother creating a fake clutch, so you get moving with the car already on gear, and you get the chance to jumpstart too, so the reaction times come into play. Cars with things like DRS show complete lack of consistency with the rules. In Barcelona, this car only gets to use DRS in the designated zones. In the Nürburgring, you get to use it all around the lap. Like in Project Cars, DRS becomes a useless gimmick as every car can and will use it in the same places. It's not an overtaking aid, but a button you push every lap in the same parts of the track. The way the pits go is a complete joke too. Let's say you win the car and you need some repairs. Some genius at Kunos forgot to grey out the option to spawn in the pits during races, so what players do is this: instead of pitting, they go on to complete the current lap. Then pause the game, respawn on the box with a healthy car, new tires and fuel, and get going again. If you ever wondered why all the lobbies are set to be no-stop races, this is probably the reason. Even when private lobbies arrive, the game doesn't provide a good environment for long races. This exploit will ruin it every time. But we are not done yet. Let's talk about penalties. The system enforcing track limits is completely absurd. Even if you go wide and end up losing time, you are going to get into trouble. The system cannot tell the difference between corner cutting and mistakes where you lose time, and the way you are penalized is sadistic. You will have to stay away from the throttle 10 seconds for every infraction. This is incredibly dangerous. People do it in slow twisty zones to minimize the time lost, but the car is impossible to control without the throttle. Even if you go off the track at walking pace just to ease other traffic off, you are going to get penalized again. If you mix this up with the lunatic AI, it makes for infinite frustration. You'll get hit off the track, and as you try to rejoin a handful of places behind where you were, the game will give you a penalty. If somehow you manage to end the race without losing your sanity, this is the prize. The screen will fade to black and you will spawn at the pits. Not a screen with the standings, no fastest laps, no gaps to the other players, not a chance to save the race replay, nothing. Again, it shows a complete lack of effort. Of course, the lack of private lobbies is the worst sin this game has, but even then, the way multiplayer works could be way better without them. Here, the players are to blame to an extent too. This is the typical picture in the multiplayer tab. The active rooms are a mixture of drifters, track days, and races in boring cars like GT3 or the Tatus. Cars like the Sauer C9 don't even have lobbies, and other demanding cars do have them, but they are usually empty. Kunos is also to blame. The number of rooms is way too high, players are dispersed, and the combos are not even refreshed or changed. It's always the same cars on the same tracks. And that's it. This is all Assetto Corsa has to overcome before becoming a reasonable alternative to Project Cars. The game might be a bit short on content, but it drives so much better that if they fix all these issues, it could be the best option to race on consoles. Thanks for watching.